Good morning, Rachel. How are you doing?
Evening. How are you?
I am good. Rachel, thank you so much for taking the time to connect over this mini podcast series. Uh, as mentioned before, the reason for this mini podcast series is to inspire people to open their own business. One in four Americans live paycheck to paycheck. A lot of the people that have a corporate job are extremely unhappy. And one of the main reason they are unhappy is because they're not making enough money. I'm a big proponent of having a side hustle, and maybe this will turn into something like a proper business. And that's why in this mini series, I am planning to connect with business owners like you that have a business for many years, and just to share a little bit of nuggets of wisdom from your early days when you started your business. So that's where this idea with the Business Made in America podcast came about. Yes. So the first question is, I think audience will definitely appreciate this. What made you start your own business?
Great question. And I've got an answer for you. It's a story. So I had many, many back surgeries. I had rods and screws in my spine. And in Arizona, one day Clifton was like, oh my gosh, she goes, I love a clean house, but I hate they're kind of not the nicest person when your house is clean because I'd worked so hard and my back hurt so bad. So he got me house cleaners one day. So I started getting house cleaners every other week. And, I'm newly married, young girl. And when we moved to Pinehurst, North Carolina, I couldn't find house cleaners I liked. And the ones that did come, they were so expensive and they weren't doing a good enough job. And so one day I was on the treadmill with my girlfriend walking on the treadmill, and I just said, I think I'm going to start a house cleaning company and just do it the way I want it done. And she was like, oh my gosh, that's great. She goes, I'll be your first customer.
I
So
love it.
it was that simple of an idea,
How many years ago was that?
13 years ago.
13 years ago. Okay.
Nope, 12 years ago, 12
12
years ago.
years ago. Yeah.
Yep.
And you kind of answer my follow-up questions. How did you get your first customer? So your first customer was your friend.
Yep, it was my friend. And so my concept behind it, I had quite a few girlfriends that, I met through the gym and social areas, and their husbands were all military. And so I knew that these girls were doing it all, cooking, the cleaning, the children, the everything. And so I went to my girlfriends and I just said, listen, will you let me train in your house? You're going to get your house cleaned at cost, whatever I'm paying these girls I'm training. Will you let me? And so it started out with just my girlfriends, and I learned and practiced on them. That's how that got started.
Very nice. And right now, is your business just in South Carolina, in certain cities, or it's kind of all over the country, or or maybe this is the vision for the next few years to expand all over the country.
So I started in Pinehurst, North Carolina. Eventually, I grew to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and that's because I moved from North Carolina to South Carolina. So I went, well, just continue and open it. The girl, and I'll talk about her later, Tina. Tina ended up moving to Columbus, Georgia, and she wanted to keep working for me. We had a great relationship, and so she said, "Can I start one in Georgia?" So we actually were in Pinehurst, North Carolina, Columbus, Georgia, and Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Wonderful. One of the questions that, no, one of the things that I hear a lot of the aspiring business owners talk about is the fact that there are so many marketing agencies. There are so many real estate agents. Why should I start my own company? So why did you start your own company while, quote unquote, the market is super saturated with cleaning services companies? Did you ever doubt that you might not get enough clients or that you will not make money in the business?
So my whole vision at first was literally to just get my house cleaned for free
Okay.
and cheap on that end. So I knew if we always had training day every Friday at my house, I knew my house would be maintained. And I was really only planning on, I just kind of went, okay, we'll see where this little hobby goes because Clifton, my husband, already had a job. He was providing for us. So this really started off as just kind of a side hustle for me to get house cleaning for cheap. So when I started this, I started with two girls, knowing that if I got too busy, I could just add another two. It just seemed like a really easy model. Well, if I accidentally grow to be bigger, I can just add more and add more. And so that was the concept of how I started. And so when I did my first round of interviews, that's kind of funny. I was at the Starbucks interviewing girls. And because my one requirement was you have to have a car to work for me, because if you don't have your transportation to go to the houses, can't hire you. So I sat outside the Starbucks. I could usually assume who was coming up for the interview. And I just got to see if they had a car or not, because there was one girl who showed up and her boyfriend dropped her off. He's sitting in the car the entire time for the interview. And when I asked her, I just said, do you have a job, or, I mean, do you have a car, or is this your husband, boyfriend's car? And
Oh my God, I love it.
so my first interviews were actually outside Starbucks. And so when I first got started, I took the four top girls out of everybody I interviewed. And from there, I knew that if I grew really fast, I could like get back on the phone and recall some of the girls that I'd interviewed
I
earlier
love
and
it.
add
I
it.
love
So I kept my whole list of resumes of girls the whole time.
I love it. How many hours a day were you working when you first started your company? When you were figuring out, let's say the payroll, how do you collect resumes? Like how the calling, like how many hours did you work at the beginning of your business?
So mind you, at this time, I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old when I start this business. And so my daughter, she was turning 5, going to kindergarten. Um, when I started, it really was, I found one of my friends' houses to clean, and I had two girls show up. So it's like I would show up to the job with the girls. We would go clean the house. And so with two girls in training, it was usually around like 4 to 5 hours. So I started basically working the 4 to 5 hours with them, but then my brain was always thinking about it. And I think that is the difference too about people who own businesses, is your brain never shuts off about it.
Yes.
And I overheard a lot of Clifton's business conversations, and that's why my brain was just always thinking. And so when you ask how many hours, it's funny. I think when you're a business owner, you never are not thinking about your business. You're always on. But
Yeah.
it did start with, just being, one house a day is what I set up for the first 2 weeks. I scheduled 10 friends. My house was the first one, and I'll tell you that story later. But my house was the first house, and then I had 9 houses we went to, because I knew most people like their house cleaned on an every other week rotation. So if I'd made my friends happy, they wanted us to try again, it was going to be an easy rotation to just start.
Were you a little bit feeling awkward to ask your friends to pay you? Did you give a lot of high discounts when you first started? Because, at the beginning, everyone feels underpaid
Yes.
or they feel guilty if they're asking, let's say, even $50 or like $300 for a service they're providing. How did you manage those emotions?
Asking for money is the hardest thing that is definitely my struggle. And I think it is with a lot of people. And so at least with my girlfriends, I remember just saying, listen, I need exactly what I'm paying for these girls to show up and to pay them. Like this is what I need. And so there was so much trial and error in figuring out how to charge and what to charge, because also too, everybody's house is so different. So there was kind of like a variable of like, okay, this 5-bedroom house, we're going to do this or this much. But a lot of it too is, I mean, how many people are in the home? So even though one house is 5-bedroom, this house is 5-bedroom, this one only has 3 people living in it. This one has 8.
Right,
It takes way longer to clean the 8 person living in the home, because it's just stuff everywhere, and
right, right.
so a lot of, I mean, I love that Clifton was working. And so I didn't have the pressure of going, oh my gosh, every dollar counts. I really got to learn on my own time. And that is such a huge thing, that if you get the capacity of brainstorming and lower stress because you're not dependent on your paycheck, I know that that makes a big difference when you are starting a company. I do know that,
Yeah. I think that's why the side hustles are so appealing these days because you can start something on the side, make your first $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month. That's the idea, and then quit your job.
Yep.
Don't quit
Yep.
your job and then live out of your car unless it's
You're
stressful.
stressed. You're not
Right,
going to make good choices. You're not going to make those good
right,
choices.
Right. Obviously, some might have like more difficult situations. Like sometimes some people are wired differently. They perform very well under stress. So
Mhm.
I think it really depends, you know. But I'm like you. I don't want to like downgrade my lifestyle.
Yep.
So what can I do till I get to the certain dollar amount that I want in my own business?
Yeah.
In terms of investment, Rachel, have you invested did you have to have a certain amount of money at the beginning? Because I know here in Miami, like certain cleaning services, they come with their own tools,
Mhm.
vacuums, etc. So did you invested a certain dollar amount at the beginning to help the first girls? How did you go about that?
So, because this was my side hustle, I had a credit card, that had a little bit of money on it. And so I remember I think I spent like $1,000 kind of for the startup, like to do the GoDaddy, build my, do my website, become licensed and all those things. So I about $1,000 there. And then I remember, yes, I actually provided all the cleaning supplies for the girls when I first started the company. The only thing I asked them was I said, I need you guys. Wait, did I start with vacuums? I started buying the vacuums at first, but the girls weren't maintaining or taking care of them. And so I saw that that was such a huge loss because the girls would vacuum up a stock, have it broken, be problem. I mean, we all know we've had vacuum issues. So that was one of the requirements too. You have to have your own car and you had to have your own vacuum, but everything else, like I had the cutest pink bags that were like Mack Maids bags. I mean, we had like all this
I
is one of
love
my
it.
first,
I love
my
it.
Mack Maids shirts, like, and everybody had, and for me, it was the how we presented ourselves. It's your first impression, it's everything. And so I wanted the girls to look so good. And so I did put more money into making sure. I mean, I think my first shirts were off Vistaprint, where it was just like a basic cartoon cleaning lady that said Mack Maids. And so there was a little investment with, the bags, the shirts, the cleaning supplies. But I made sure that, for the first 2 weeks, I gave the girls all the equipment, but I told them, like if this does not work out, I need you to return like everything. Like I was really, really upfront about that because I mean, your costs add up when you're buying so many products.
Yes.
But on the other aspect of that, years later, Bona is like a floor cleaning product, a really high-end floor cleaning product. We were buying so much Bona because we wanted to use the best product in the house that we accidentally became distributors
Wow.
because we used so much. I mean, we didn't ever sell it to anybody else. I guess we could have, but we used so much Bona when we were in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia that we were given like it at cost basically just because they knew that we were buying so much. So there's some cool things that happen when
Right. I really love how you pivot when it comes to the vacuums. You notice that the girls were not taking
Mhm.
care of them, and you were like, "Oh, let me change this." Because if people have some skin in the game, they
Yep.
act very differently.
Well, and we have an option too. Like if you can't afford a vacuum to start with us, we put you on a payment plan.
Wow.
So your first few checks you get, we'll
Love
just
it.
take a little chunk out of each thing. And so because the girls really did invest more in taking care.
Right. Right. Right.
But yeah, so we always made sure if you couldn't afford it, we'll work with
I
you,
love
you
it.
know.
So you mentioned GoDaddy, the website. So when you first got the idea, by the way, I told you when we last met, I think you guys have such an business, like an amazing business name, Mac, which is like your last name. So I think the name is excellent, Mack Maids. From the idea, from the moment you got the idea, right, to open your own cleaning service business, how long it took for you to have your own website? Like after how many days, how many weeks, how many months? And then
I think
how did
that
you?
was one of the first things I focused on because I wanted people to have something to go to. So I did an Instagram, went straight to there.
Yes,
I think my first pictures were just pictures of the products that I had just bought. I'm like, okay, hi, we're a cleaning company, you
yes,
know. And then, but it was very, very simple. I just do whatever the simplest, easy thing. I needed a landing page just to be like, yeah, we're officially a good company. Like, look at us.
I love it.
Um, but the biggest thing that I focused on was Google Maps reviews. I
Got
was
it.
huge.
Yeah.
And the reason that that was so, so important to me was in Pinehurst, North Carolina, it's a lot of military that comes in. It's like you're either retirement who's been there for years and years, or you're military coming in, and the military, it's constant come and go. And so I wanted when people were looking at a map and looked up housekeepers,
Right.
I wanted us to be the highest rated. I wanted us to be the most. I wanted us to be the best because that's how I find things. When I've moved cities, like I think I've been in 5 cities in 19 years of being married. And every time I'm in a new city, I'm constantly looking at what are the reviews. It's those. So
Right.
I wanted to look and start the company based on when I'm looking for something, what's my process? And whatever my process is, I'm going to go ahead and focus on it because it's been successful all the times I've moved.
I love it. I love it. Did you ever doubt it? Hey, this stuff is hard. Like did you have any moments you're like, you know what? This is
Uh-huh.
this is
Well,
something else.
and think about this too. Like I was getting housekeepers for my house because I didn't want to do it. So I'm starting this company where I've always believed that you should not have your employees do something that you won't do.
Right.
So it's like, and so whenever I'd be assisting in a house, I would find the dirtiest part of the house and make sure that I helped assist clean it when I pop in on the
Wow.
jobs because I wanted them to respect me. And it's like there was this one house, the power had been out for at least a week in the middle of summer in Pinehurst. And so when we went to open this fridge, it was maggots everywhere in this fridge. I mean,
Wow.
this and you know how we were talking about like how do you learn what to charge and not charge? Those are huge learning mistakes too when you're doing like a cleanup job, like these catastrophe jobs. It's like I did not know that we were walking into a house that the power hadn't been on with maggots when I did the estimate. And so that was a job that I was like, girls, guess what? I've got this, don't you worry. And I cleaned that fridge and it was one of the nastiest things I've ever done. But all those girls saw, wait a second, if the owner is willing to get in and do it, I'll do whatever is asked, and I think that that's a huge, huge part,
Yeah. Do you mind if I ask you how large is your team right now?
Yeah, currently right now, okay, so at one point, I mean, we started with 2 girls. We had three states going at one time, and we even added a painting company at one point. It was Mack Maids and Painters, and I'll tell you that story, how like it
Yeah.
just kept growing. So at that point, when we had all of those, I would say up to probably about 60 full-time employees
Wow.
working between maids, painters, states, all of that right now. So currently, after COVID, I streamlined a lot when I moved away from Myrtle Beach, which that was a huge learning experience that if I went back, I would totally do it different. Um, so right now things are very streamlined. I just have about 20 employees right
Oh,
now.
that's a big number. It's not like three employees. That's amazing. How did you figure out the payroll, the workers' comp? I'm not sure. Maybe you don't need workers' comp in your industry, or maybe you do. But how did you figure out? How did you know what products to use? Do you have to buy insurance? Like, how did you navigate? The operations of the business, the hiring, the firing, maybe byproducts, and then you have to actually maintain the legality of the business and file taxes. How did you do it all?
It is you take one day at a time. You learn, you see mistakes. I mean, we were doing residential houses when we first started, but then we were doing such a great job that we were doing somebody's home who owned a business in the city. So they were like, "Oh, well, why don't you do our commercial?" And I'm like, "I don't even know how to estimate for commercial. I don't know anything about commercial." And it would be, somebody would ask, "Okay, so do you have your commercial insurance?" And I'm like, let me get back to you on that. And that's when I'd be like, okay, apparently we need commercial insurance to be able to get a
Wow.
commercial job. So then I would do that. And I didn't know this, but if the girls are going to be on a ladder, above 2 steps of a ladder, you have to have a higher
Oh,
insurance.
really? Wow.
So that was really interesting, because we would give the girls step stools and then when we learned the technicality that like if they had 3 steps, it would be more expensive for insurance than you having 2 steps. So we tell the girls, if you get a step stool and you're short and you need to help clean those tall areas, you got to be on 2 steps, not three. And so it's just little things that it's like you learn by getting in it, because you just don't know. And it's like you really have to take things one day at a time. And I think that that's another reason So many businesses don't continue after the first year or 5 years or 10 years. I mean, when we hit our 10-year mark, it was kind of like, wow, like we hit 10 years. A lot of businesses never hit
Yes.
this. But I think it's the ability to take things one day at a time and one step at a time, and you just tackle whatever the next problem is. And for me, overhearing Clifton's business conversations, my whole marriage, he always talked about how to try to figure out how to replace yourself. Well, I was always thinking, okay, well, what is taking me the longest? What is something that I can do? And when it came to payroll, I mean, I still have the papers. It was handwritten. It was like,
Wow.
Sheila, this house, everything was like on paper. Like I didn't even get my first computer till like 2 years ago. Like I ran this business with my cell phone and pen
I
and
love
paper.
it.
That's how I did it. And months into it, I remember like my husband after a while was like, I'm really starting to hate Fridays. I don't like Fridays because Thursdays, because Thursday was the day that was my mathematical equation day of like adding up the jobs, adding up the girls. How much do I pay them? How do I do it? And it would take me so long to do six girls payroll that one day we were at a, kind of like city neighborhood event. And I'm just talking to one of my girlfriends. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I seriously just spent 6 hours doing payroll for six girls. I'm like, I need help. And she's like, oh, that's really easy for me. And so as we're having like a glass of wine, she's just like, next week, let's have a glass of wine and let me see what you're doing and I'll help you. Well, she just wanted to help me as a friend. Tina now owns a percentage of my company. She's been
Wow.
working for me since the beginning, but it's like I needed help and I asked a friend and it was somebody I enjoyed being with. And she goes, it just started with payroll. And from payroll, we started seeing, oh, well, if she helped with the billing, if she helped with this. And so she was my back end operation. I was out there, checking on the girls. I was out there, getting customers. I was out there making sure that we had reviews from our customers. And so we kind of just started fitting in our roles. And that was my first employee was Tina,
Wow.
only because I was handwriting. And it's like when she saw my handwriting, like timesheet, she's like, oh yeah, girl, let me show you how this can be done in about 15 to 20 minutes. And I'm like,
Wow.
seriously? Like that quick. So Tina was amazing. And very shortly, it's just I got so busy. And I mean, my computer was on our bedroom desk. So we started working from my desk in my computer in my bedroom, or it was a laptop,
Right.
like a computer
Yeah.
that you plug in a
Yeah.
wall, not a
Yeah.
laptop. So that's where she'd come up to my room and do all the work up there. And that's where we started.
Was it difficult to give, I don't want to say give away, but was it difficult to give a portion of your like company equity to your business partner?
This is huge. Every business owner out there, I am so mad I did not give her a percentage even earlier
Really?
years ago. Yep. Because what happens is when you give somebody a percentage of your company, they take it on as their own.
Right.
Tina already felt like, I mean, she saw us like grow this from, I mean, handwriting everything. I mean, I was handwriting my checks to the girls, So because she saw it from the beginning, each time we grew, it's like it became hers anyway. Like our company was our company. We built this together. And so when, one day Clifton was like, yeah, Tina's worked for us for a long time. We should give her a percentage of the company. And I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. She worked so much better for us after having that. And one of the other reasons too is, she's in the office handling business. Well, when there'd be a complaint or an issue, everybody wants to talk to the owner.
Right.
Everybody does.
Right.
If you have somebody working for you that's doing a ton of your work, give them a part of the company so they can say that they're part owner and they can handle some of these problems because Tina knew so much more. Eventually, it just got to the point where Tina was running majority of everything.
Right.
She knows all the things, but she hated when they were like, well, we want to talk to an owner. I'm like, Tina, I'll solve this for you. And
Yeah.
she was, and then being able to give her more and more as we grew throughout the years,
Oh, I
but
love
it's like, but we definitely, I mean, we feel like this is our company. Like we built this together,
I love it. Yeah.
so.
We had another Zoom call last week, and I think you were like Tina did a FaceTime with you and with your other
And Janet.
Janet. Yes. And I love the energy you had among you. And how did you, build the culture? Because any company, no matter how small or large it is, it has a culture. And you kind
Mhm.
of see when people don't get along and or they don't get along. And I really like the synergy between the two. So how do you keep close to your employees, that you might not be talking on a daily basis? I don't know. So how do you, maybe someone is joining your company today. So how do you go about that?
So picture having 70 women working for you. That is a lot of personalities. Okay? So,
Yes.
so with that, we've done a personality test, and me,
Wow.
Janet, and Tina are all, there's four personalities, and we each are massively great in one of them. And so that's what's fun is our dynamic is amazing because we love what each person brings to the table because Tina has strengths that I definitely do not have. I've got strengths that Tina doesn't have. Janet has her other set of skills. And so the three of us, it works out fantastic. But when it comes to the girls, at one point, Clifton had this fabulous idea. He was like, listen. He goes, because there's always somebody who's like bringing down the company. There's somebody who's not working as hard. And in our cleaning company, we always have two girls in every house.
Got it.
And so with that, you think about it, if you're kind of slacking and you're just kind of like, whatever, I'm here, she's going to get this. If I clean slow enough in this bathroom, she's going to have to do more of the work and it's unfair. So we created an A team, a B team, and a C team. A team, that means you get the better jobs, you get the better hours. If you're requesting somebody and there's somebody who tips really well, you know what? If you're showing up to work, if you're not calling out, if you're smooth, you're in the A team. We love you. Keep in the A team. And A teams get to train other people. If you're a trainer, you get to make more as well. B team, that means, you know what? You're here. You're checking in. You're going to work. You're going to do it. You're going to, sometimes randomly call out, but you're here. C, if you live in C team for like 2, 3 weeks, we found a reason to make sure that we didn't have as many jobs for you. We made sure that we were giving you the worst jobs. We were giving you the harder cleans. It's like you don't want to live in C. We want everybody living in A and B. And part of it is when you have high expectations for your company, they do. They reach it. If
Right.
you don't have expectations, like you're going to have a lot of slack. And a lot of it too is we always say we always cut the cancer out. And
Yes.
and that's another thing too is it's just like if you are not putting it, if you're not giving your effort, if you're not doing that, I will help you find a job at another cleaning company. I
Right.
will assist in that.
Right.
Like your place is not going to be here because of the standards that we have. And this is why our reviews, I mean, when you look us
Yeah.
up, we're the highest rated. We have so many reviews and we care about it because, you know, one of our girls in Myrtle Beach that used to work for us, her name was Kim. And we're like, Kim cares. Like Kim cares. And Kim was like the biggest energy creator in our company. Like she all helped us step up because she was like, here we go. I mean, she cared in each home, every client she went to, everybody had the same thing. Kim cares. Kim cares. And so we were just like, Mack Maids, we care. We're going to care.
I love it.
So
I love it. About energy. So I met you and your husband Clifton, I think in April. We joined the PBD's, the boardroom here in Fort Lauderdale. And I always admire you guys because I know you've been married for many years. You're still
19,
playful, 19 years, and you're still so playful with each other. You're always together. You are both business owners and you have two kids. How did you because a lot of people they say, oh, my spouse is not supporting me. Oh, I have kids. I cannot start a business. Like it's kind of, I don't want to say excuses, but they're kind of excuses. So how did you guys maintain it so amazingly?
So I think, when I first started the company, how I said Marshall was about 1 or 2 years old. I got him a little Mack Made shirt made and I brought him to my estimates. I brought him to my cleaning things. Like I made it work. And do you know what he was? He was the Mack Maids inspector because he was this little boy. So I'd have him crawl on the floor. I'm like, Marshall, look under the couch. Is there anything under the couch? Like I incorporated him into it so it wasn't awkward when I showed up at the house with a child, you know?
Yeah.
And another reason for I think the success and balancing things too was I wanted to hire moms that were stay-at-home moms or not even stay-at-home mom. Well, moms that had kids in school. I think that there's so many people who they don't think that they can get a job because their kids, they've got to take them to school, the car rider lines, all of these things. And so I structured the company from the beginning going, we're not even going to start our first job till everybody can drop their kids off at school, get through the car rider line and make it to work. We won't even start our day till then. And we'll make sure that we are done so people, because I really do feel like you have to have a balance between family life and work life.
Right.
I've traveled out of the country. I love that so many countries have holiday where you just go, you travel, you do these things. It's like you live. I think here in America, we get so caught up in like work, 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 work. And, a year and a half into this accidental hobby that I started, I was stressed out. I really was. I had so much on my plate. I was managing. I knew all the girls. I had all the information in my head because a lot of it too, I didn't have all the systems in play to like make it go smooth. But a year and a half into it, Clifton was taking me on vacation because that's one of the secrets to having a happy marriage is consistently have a trip in the future you're going on. And he finally was like, I'm taking your phone. You're done. You're
Wow.
done. And I was like, wait, wait, this person's locked out. They need this code to get into this house. Like, I'm like, no, like it can't function. He's no. He goes, finish this up. But he goes, starting Monday, I'm going to take over your company. And I actually love that he did that because I wasn't in my role. I wasn't in my best thing. I wasn't the happy wife and happy mom. I'd gotten too stressed out because A, the systems weren't built for my company to be run smoothly. B, I had only overheard Clifton's phone calls in business my whole life. And so I needed somebody who had had a business to overlook and kind of smooth out the problems. And from there, he saw little mistakes that he was able to help my business grow instantly like that. Cause he's like, oh, wow. He goes, this little hobby you create is actually producing quite a bit of money. And I just kept putting it in an account and it just kept adding up because, for me, it was a side thing. We weren't living off my Mack Maids money.
I love it.
And and what was really cool was about 5, 6 months after I started the company, Clifton has always owned his own business, but for a very quick time, he was working for somebody. Well, that person's company went bankrupt that Clifton was working for. So Clifton had to like start his own company at the same time. I mean, there were so many moving parts, but I think, the key in success is to leave work at work. Home is home. And when you talk about it too much, like there's times you have to be like, okay, listen, we're done. And our date nights every weekend, we do not talk about the children. We do not talk about work. Like I'm his girlfriend on the weekend. When we go out, I'm his girlfriend. I go into girlfriend mode, and it's like, I think that that's been a really huge success in juggling kids, business, family, life, all of those things. You have to compartmentalize and only do what you can each day in that category and make it work.
Yeah. One question that I have is, do you think the American dream is still alive?
Absolutely.
I'm an immigrant myself, and I truly believe in this country. I think we have huge opportunities, but I think for me it's easier to see because I was born in a communist country, so I see what possibilities we have here in the US. You are born and raised in America, you're an American, Clifton the same. Is the American dream still alive?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, a lot of it is if you don't know what to do, you look it up on YouTube.
Right.
Like you can learn everything on YouTube, everything that I mean, that first week or two when I was cleaning my girlfriend's houses with the company, I remember, the girls would be like, "Hey, how do we clean this specifically?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, hold on, I've got to call it the customer." And I walk out of the room, I would straight up get on YouTube and be like,
Wow.
"How do we clean this? How do we clean this?" Because I didn't know everything at all. And you have to live and learn. Another thing that happens is because people know that we have businesses and talk about it, when people tell us that they're sending their child to college for business, we think that that is an absolute waste of money and
I'm
time.
with you. I'm
You know,
100% with you.
and for us, we always tell them like, okay, if you're invest in your child, I mean, if you can give them or start up or help them get a loan to start a business for $20,000, that 20,000, I mean, it didn't even take me $20,000 to get started, but just saying, if you could start with $20,000 versus send them to college, they can live, learn, make mistakes, grow. They are going to have a well-run machine in no time at all. But it's getting out there, it's learning. You just have to be in the field. And it's like I've got a brother that he was rebelling about going to college. I mean, he was recruited by everyone in the country for swimming. Like he was number two in the whole entire country. And, he didn't take 2 years of foreign language. I think he had one. It was the first year that you had to have two, and he's like, screw this, whatever. So my parents were like, fine, then you have to go get a job. Well, they thought that if they would get him the hardest job, which was working for a plumber, he would want to go back to school. My parents were both educators. My parents were both principals and teachers. Like they wanted us to go to school.
Right.
And they thought, okay, if we get him into the hardest career, plumbing, he'll go back to school. He ended up starting his own plumbing company years later, being uber successful, burying money in his backyard because he had so much money and just wanted to cash. And so it is true. You can start a business. You're supposed, and I think too, people love authenticity. They love being
Right.
raw. So when I was starting the company, I was like, hey, listen, we're new at this. I'm trying to make you happy. Like
Right.
if it's not right, I can fix it. And even with the girls, like if the girls don't do a good enough job, I send that A team girl back for free to go redo it, because you just want everybody to be happy. Your customer service is the biggest part about
Yeah.
making a company successful. If you don't care about making things right because you want to be right, you're not going to be a successful business owner at all.
Yeah. I love what you mentioned that your parents were not entrepreneurs. And both
Mm-mm.
you and your brothers are entrepreneurs. You have your own businesses.
Yeah.
Like, and this kind of like, destroys, quote unquote, the other excuse. I don't know how to run a business. Nobody taught me. My parents,
YouTube University teaches you
YouTube
all.
University. Yes. So, two more questions regarding, like, for example, if I live in South Carolina,
Mhm.
and if I'm looking for a side hustle or maybe part-time job, full-time job, and I want to work in your company,
Mhm.
are you currently hiring? If yes, how can I apply for your job in your company? What criteria do you have? What benefits, if you can share during this podcast?
Yes. Okay. So in Pinehurst, North Carolina, if you are looking for a job, Pinehurst, Aberdeen, or Southern Pines, and we're actually growing to Fayetteville right now too, because that's where a huge military base is. And so we have a lot of requests for us to come out there. For that, you can call us. We have training videos. I actually made training videos because I believe that when you have training videos, everybody that works for you, if they have a great picture of what the company is about, what your expectations are, how things are, you solve so many problems from the beginning. So we've got training videos. We have you on training like for 2 weeks. Because guess what? If this is not a fit for you, we would love to help you find what fit would be for you, you
Yeah.
know? So, yep, you just call our office. Tina or Janet is ready to pick up the phone. We've done tons of times like where we'll just be like, hey, listen, we're going to be at this location, show up. And there's some people that actually like that. They just want to show up and just here, I'm ready,
Yeah.
you know.
Do you require a certain amount of experience, or you just want to see if the person is really dedicated, and then if they're willing to learn, you have the
Mhm.
resources, you have the team to teach them? Like,
Yes. Well, and you think about it, we all live in a home.
right,
So
right,
many people that therapeutically they like to clean. It's they like it. And so I mean, we all have had experience in cleaning if you think
right,
about it. And so I always say that yes, we can always train you. We do drug test, background checks because you think about it like we're in your home. We
right.
want you to have that security. We want to have that, and it's like we randomly drug test our girls. Like I think that is so key to just randomly do it. You don't have to do it all the time, but randomly, it just sets the tone that hey, listen, this is how it's going to be. And we have very strict rules. Like, if there's pill counters all over, if you have tons of pills laid out, we actually have the girls take a picture and go, hey, listen, send it in. We're not going to touch this whole counter. We definitely work with the client like on hey, this looks like this is what your area is. If you choose for us to not clean it, we'll just let it be. It's just we want people, we tailor all of our cleans to exactly what it is. We have a note section.
Wow.
When you show up to a house, like our whole automated system where the girls get told the job, they show up on location. we have a whole note section, and everybody who cleans that house, we have notes. Hey, the dog's name is Bruno. The door code is this, like they don't like when you do this, so make sure you do this. And so it's like we always tell the girls, leave notes, leave notes, leave notes, because you're not always going to get that same job.
Yeah.
It's the rotation. I actually do not like the same girls at the same house all the time at all.
Yeah.
I had an instance where like the same girl was going to the same house all the time. And so this, client was like, hey, why don't you just come and work for me and kind of undercut and just take the
Wow.
girl away? And so you have to find a way to protect yourself. But guess what? That was a lesson lived and learned. You don't know till you're in the business. Like you can sit in a classroom in college and learn about it, but until it actually happens to you, and it's like another thing I had to learn was, we had a girl that decided to start her own business after working for us. I trained her, I got her up to management, and we have a strict, I mean, they sign a document with us. It's like after 2 years, after you've worked for us, 2 years later, now you can start something. Well, this girl, after I trained her, hired her, everything, decided to just break off and do her own thing. I've watched her over the years. She's had to rename her company a few times. People who have worked for her have come back to work for us. I mean, it made me so sad. But the one thing I didn't do was I didn't strike when the iron was
Right.
hot and send her the sue letter saying, hey, guess what? You have this paper saying you're not going to be in my company. And I regretted that so much because this girl just kind of constantly was always trying to make it work. And she learned everything from our company, our good and our bad. And so, because of that, I can repeat that to everybody that works for us. I go, listen, here's the deal. I did it, but I'm not afraid to. I was at the beginning when I first started the company. I am not now.
Yeah.
Like use the document. This is how it is. After that 2 years, go for it.
Right. Right. Is there a minimum of amount of hours that someone needs to work per month
No,
or
I
per week
what I
or
love is we will take if you can only work 2 days a week. Let's say your schedule is free that you just want to make extra Christmas money. You can work Tuesday, Thursday. You can work just on Wednesdays. Like we actually love people that only want to work a little bit because they can be our backups when we have somebody call out for work. We can be,
right.
I love having a roster of part-timers that just really call me if it works. I mean, I have had the sweetest old lady who worked for me, Evelyn. She was so sweet. And she just loved to clean to get out of the house, get away from the husband for a few hours, feel like she had something to do. So believe me, you want a little break like that, come work for Mack Maids,
I love it. So, what is the website, Rachel?
www.mackmaids.com. Mac, M-A-C,
mackmaids.com. Wonderful. And
mackmaids.com. Make
right,
it simple.
make it simple. So I have my resume. I go on your website. I'm assuming there is an email address. I'm just submitting my resumes, and someone from your team will call for an interview and take it from
Absolutely.
there. Wonderful.
Yep. Yep.
Is there anything you'd like to share? Do you have social media handle or anything else
Yes.
you'd
All
like
right.
to share?
Our Instagram is MackMaids1, the number one. And that was a learning process because there was a competing company called Mack Maids in like Georgia or something like that. And we were competing for our name, Mack Maids. And so I learned I had to stay on top of the renewal because my renewal went out or there was something that went wrong at one point and I lost my name. And so we had to rename ours Mack Maids number one. I mean, it's just those are lessons you learn when you're in the business that you got to stay on top of all your renewals. Don't lose your website. I lost my website once. It's just
Yeah.
you learn all those things.
Yeah. Where do you see Mack Maids in 5 and 10 years? Do you plan to expand to other states, or adding new services?
So I definitely learned a ton in Myrtle Beach. I either want to go back and dominate or I want to mentor other businesses and take apart and teach them
Yeah.
because it's too easy the things I learned in Myrtle Beach. Um, because they've got 60 miles of oceanfront condos. Do you know that every single one of those condos are actually individually owned? I think the Hilton owns one of those buildings basically. But
Okay.
other than that, like you look at a giant building, every person that has it needs a housekeeper. They
Right.
don't I mean, they have to find it on their own. I mean, there's so many little things that it's like I think if I got bored enough, I would pop up open to Myrtle and kind of restructure how I did it there. Um, I've thought about opening here in Florida. I
Yes,
mean,
I was about to tell you, come to Miami. Like all my friends, we are still looking for someone to help us clean our homes.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, and the problem is hiring. But I mean, I know that every business says the problem is hiring, but it's like it really is an ongoing struggle. For an entire year when I was in Myrtle Beach, I sat at the exact same Starbucks every Tuesday and Thursday for 2 hours. I sat there, I drank a coffee, and I waited for anybody to show up because I kept reposting the same ad because I knew, okay, you never know when somebody needs the job. And you never know, maybe you started a job and 2 weeks later you didn't like it and you're re-looking again. But if you're constantly seeing the same ad at the same place at the same time. I mean, I had many, many people who, when they finally came to the interview, they're like, I've seen your ad nonstop for so long and the same time, and so you have to be consistent,
right.
but it's like, I mean, that year that I sat there just trying to get more employees, I mean, it is hard to keep and get, I mean, once I get them, they stay. Like my girls, I've had girls that have stayed with me for so, so long, that it's just,
Yeah,
and that's the type of company you want to have because it does help with the
right,
culture and
right.
all of it. But like when you constantly have a high rotation, the money that is wasted, the time that's invested, all those things. And so it's what you put into getting your employees. And I think that's why I also was like, listen, I want house moms that are at home. I want you for a couple hours. You want to make that extra birthday, Christmas, anniversary money, whatever, kid's birthday,
Yeah.
come work.
I definitely want to highlight your consistency. So for 1 year, you were the same Starbucks for at least
Uh-huh.
2 hours because you're
We're
running an ad
wearing the same
wearing
Mack Maids
wearing
shirt.
the branding, right? Like if you
So when you walked in, there was no question that you were going to interview with me, you
right.
know?
So in the ad, you've mentioned, hey, I am looking to hire cleaning personnel. If you're interested, come for an interview at the Starbucks location. Is this how the ad looked like?
That was how it
Where,
was.
where did you post it?
Facebook market or like Facebook jobs. I posted on Indeed. I posted like I would just like anywhere I would be like, you can go to Facebook groups. You know how there's like Facebook groups where, jobs wanted, job seeking. I would constantly be posting in
Right.
there. But yeah, I'm very huge about consistency. We're very huge about that.
Yeah.
It's just so yeah, a whole year I did that. But also too, it was a Starbucks that faced the ocean. So I
Right.
really didn't mind sitting at this Starbucks drinking a coffee twice a day or twice a week. If nobody came, I enjoyed a lovely coffee looking at the ocean.
Yeah. Would you do things differently if you would turn back the time? Would you do things differently? What would you, if yes, what
Yes.
would be the top two things you would do differently?
So, like I mentioned earlier, whoever works for me or whoever works for you, empower them sooner, give them more responsibility, but give them more pay, give them more percentage. Definitely do that. There's so many streamlined things that I didn't stay on top of that I think would have been great if I rolled with it. Like you and I had a conversation about, some of the systems that we have. And
Yes.
it's like we still have a person you call, we're picking up the phone. We don't have an automated system. And if you think about it, there is a lot of wasted time with having somebody picking up the phone all the time versus automation. Yeah, I mean, that would be nice to kind of weed out some of the issues versus interrupt what we're doing. I think that what else would I do? That's a good question. I do know that I would do things differently in Myrtle Beach only because I think when you know a market
Right.
so well, when you step back, because when we moved away from Myrtle, I wanted to walk away from it. I was like, okay, listen, because it's like in Myrtle Beach, because all these oceanfront condos, they were all turnovers for like, VRBO type thing. Well, where do the linens come from? Do
Right.
you know that the maids pay and own the linens? So when you guys walk off with a towel, do you know that
Okay.
that's the housekeepers?
Oh, I did not know that.
When you ruin those sheets, when you ruin all those things, it's like so my investment Myrtle Beach. So when I'm doing residential turnovers, that was one of the cheapest, easiest procedures to have. When I turn to residential, this commercial type turnover where we're taking everybody's VRBOs, well, where you're not going to sit in a one bedroom condo, wash the sheets, turn over the sheets. They don't do that. And so when we got into this business, somebody told us, "Oh, no, no, no. If you're a housekeeper here, you got to invest in your own laundry. You're doing your own laundry." So I had to invest $10,000 in sheets, towels, pillowcases, things like that. Then I ended up getting a warehouse. I had a warehouse in Myrtle Beach. I ended up buying two washers and dryers. That was turning over consistently. I had to buy shelving to like color coordinate all the things. I mean, these girls would have these bags of linens, like every condo and that they would clean, it would look like Santa Claus with this big old, you know, it's just,
Yeah.
and it's like at one point I was so excited when we hired a guy because I was like, dude, your job is to just go pick up all the physical laundry from these condos that we're at. I bought a van at one point because we were throwing all the laundry in the van. Then we ended up doing like we decided to let people wash our laundry for us because it was so much laundry. We had a professional service. But then I wasn't even getting my stuff back. I was getting other people's stuff back. And
Wow.
then I was like, okay, now I'm losing even more money, And so it just, it's like I learned that market so well. I I would definitely go back and take over.
Okay, girl, let's do it. I mean, please do it. Please do it.
Yep.
Last question. What message do you want to give to those business owners that live in the area you're servicing and they're looking to get a cleaning service? So that's one. And second, what message do you have for those women that they're looking to get some extra money, side hustle, for either for holidays or for the entire year? Like what message do you have for these two categories?
Okay, so number one, all of the clientele in Pinehurst, North Carolina, Aberdeen, and Southern Pines, we have been around the longest. I have lived and learned. I have expanded to many states. I think it's just the lessons learned. We're there. We care. If we ever break anything in your home, we have already reordered it and it's on its way before the girls even leave the house. And we send you an email that we've made a mistake and we're already paying up for it. I mean, we believe in being fair. We believe in just the customer is everything. If the customer's
Right.
not happy, and it's like, but I also take that in a step further where if the employees aren't happy, then they're not going to reflect in the home. So it's like, we care about our employees. We care. We've been around for a long time. So you're definitely getting the best service with Mack Maids, that's for sure.
Yeah,
And when it comes to women who are wanting to start a side hustle, absolutely, just do it. Just do it. I mean, let's think about it. Get on your phone, go ahead and see how many hours did you scroll this week? Those amount of hours that you scrolled this week on social media, you could have had a side hustle going, and the thing is too, is I think that there's so many people that go, oh, I love flowering. I'm gonna go ahead and like have this boutique, like we're gonna make flower creations or whatever. Okay, that's great, but is there a need in the market?
right.
And that's the thing is the only reason my company was successful was there was a need in the market. You have to see the needs in the market. So if you are starting a side hustle, if it purely is because it's something you love, enjoy, and you don't really care about expanding, maybe it will blow up and be amazing and be successful. But look for a need in the market. That is the number one thing.
Yeah,
Definitely find a need, and it can be so small. Find a need, show up, be consistent, care, and you will be successful.
I love it. Rachel, thank you so much. Congratulations again on building a very successful cleaning business for more than 12 years. Really appreciate you. And thank you so much again.
Thank you.